Hi everyone, it's Danny. Today we're going to discuss about something that happens very often in the orchid world, specifically with Phalaenopsis orchids, and this is the leaning of the Phalaenopsis orchid to one side. And one of my viewers asked me how to handle an orchid like this, how to stabilize it. So I thought I should make a video on it. Okay, so if you are growing your orchids in the house and you have your main source of light coming from a window from a side, most probably your Phalaenopsis orchid will lean towards that side. Now this is a very normal thing with Phalaenopsis orchids. In nature they grow attached to trees and they will lean over and try to get as much light as they possibly can. I have discovered that you cannot correct this. Whatever you do, you can try to repot it, put it straight, but it will come back to the side that has the most light. So there's actually nothing you can do to make it stand straight. But I've noticed that the best thing to do with the leaning Phalaenopsis, so you prevent tipping over of the pot and falling of the orchid, is to actually use decorative pots made out of ceramic. Now these pots are heavy enough to sustain the whole weight of the orchid and will keep your orchid from tipping over. Even if you bump into it, they will in most cases keep the orchid stable. Now if you don't know how to choose a decorative pot for your orchid, I do have a video on how to properly use them and how to choose them. So if you want to watch that video, you have the link towards it in the description. Now some people use rocks to stabilize the orchid pot, whether they put it at the bottom of the pot or on one side of the pot, which is not leaning over. When you're dealing with a very big Phalaenopsis orchid, which most probably has a flower spike at some point, it's kinda hard to stabilize it with rocks. If they're not placed correctly and they wobble around, your orchid will fall. If the orchid gets too top heavy, it will just counter the effect of the rocks and so on. So if you have a pretty small Phalaenopsis orchids, placing rocks might help as well. They will really not look good though. Maybe placing them at the bottom of the pot will actually help you. But as it grows, the orchid will get much heavier than the rocks you are able to place in there. I've also read on some forums that some people try to keep the orchid facing with one of its sides towards the light source for a few days and then turning it around so the other side will benefit from the light source and actually start to grow even. But actually that's not really working, and I'll show you an example. It's not the cutest orchid here, and I have a very old leaf which is dying, but hopefully you will be able to see this particular leaf, how twisted it is. I actually tried the very same technique with this orchid a few years ago, and this is how the leaf grew. Even though it's now dropping off, you can see the actual shape of it. It started to twist around like crazy, going all chaotic. So I can tell you that this technique will not actually work as great as you imagine. The orchid will not start to grow upright. It will just start to twist its leaves and eventually end up with a very funny look. If you have a light source that comes from above, the actual lean will not be as steep as in the case of a window from one side. So if you can provide some light from above, directly from above, you will probably have a straighter Phalaenopsis. This is actually how they do it in orchid nurseries. Apart from having lights coming right from the top of the orchid, they also place Phalaenopsis orchids in some sort of, they're not bowls, they're just some containers that keep their leaves like this, upwards, so they don't go about leaning to a side or another. And that's how orchids become straight when you purchase them. Actually, they are straight when you purchase them, and then they start to lean over depending when where your light source is coming from. But again, it's a pretty normal process and you shouldn't be scared of it. It might not look super pretty, but it's just the way Phalaenopsis grow. There was also another question regarding flower spikes. How to actually make an orchid face its flower spike to the side you actually want to. Say you want to keep it inside, but you don't want it to face the window. You want it to face it inside so you can actually see it when you come into your room. Well, I'm afraid this is really not possible. Like with the leaves, the flower spikes and the flowers will tend to face the light source. So what you can do actually is shape your flower spike however you want. Do not move your orchid from that spot. If you take it out to water it, try to arrange it almost exactly like it was before and wait for all the buds to open. This way, the orchid will only face one light source and all the flowers will arrange themselves very, very pretty. I don't have an actual example to show you, but you can see here how they're actually arranged in the same pattern. Now, after all the buds have opened, you can turn your orchid the other way, because it will not produce any more leaves since it's in bloom, so you will not get twisted leaves, and it will not produce any more flowers, let's say, in the near future, so you can enjoy your blooms without them trying to face the light source. If you would move your orchid around, the flowers will face every other direction. They will even face downwards or upwards. It will just be a mess. So try to keep your orchid in the same place, facing the light source in the same position, and after all the flowers have bloomed, turn it around so it faces you, or it faces your room, or wherever you want to keep it. And yeah, if they're bloomed, the flowers will not deform anymore. They will not try to find the light source. They will stay as they are. Okay, so I hope this was helpful and interesting to you. If you have other questions or suggestions for videos, leave me a comment and I will try to make a video for you. Don't forget to subscribe and also visit orchidnature.com for more goodies. Thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!